Hello. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi everyone, we love.
Hi, everyone. We are live. Let's start
Yes.
the session.
Yeah. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session. It's exciting to be your guide through this day two session of the 17th African Investigative Journalism Conference. In this session titled Water and Trees, we're going to discuss some of the best environmental reporting from across the continent and how it was done. My name is Benon Oluka. I'm the Africa editor for the Global Investigative Journalism Network, and I will be your moderator today. Now, we are offering translation into French during this session, so you can choose to listen to this online discussion in either English or French. Please find details on your Wover app. In this session, we have a panel of 4 journalists who are distinguished, who have done environmental reporting across different countries in Africa. Let me introduce them to you right away. First, we have Francis Annagu, who is a freelance journalist from Nigeria. He specializes in reporting on the environment and climate change. He reports for EnviroNews. He has worked for organizations like Code for Africa, Global Forest Watch, the Africa-China Reporting Project, the Rainforest Journalism Fund, and the Pulitzer Center. We also will be joined by Sonja Smith, who is an award-winning investigative journalist based in Namibia and working for the Namibian newspaper. Sonja is a member of the Center for Collaborative Investigative Journalism, that is CCIJ. She's a correspondent for the Associated Press and a part-time data wrangler for Oxpeca's Environmental Investigative Journalism Center. At the 2021 Editors Forum of Namibia Journalism Awards, Sonja was awarded Journalist of the Year and High Investigative Story titled Grape Crops Bring in Millions, Farm Workers Live in a Harsh Life, won the Best Agriculture and Environmental Award. We will also be joined by Boris Ngounou, who is from Cameroon. He specializes in the coverage of environmental issues and works for 2 media organizations in his home country. These are Afrique 21 and Radio TIEMENI SIANTOU. Then finally, we have Lars Tallert, who is a journalist from Sweden. He is currently the head of policy and international development at the Fojo Media Institute, Linnaeus University. He's also Sweden's representative to the UNESCO IPDC Intergovernmental Council. And currently, he's establishing a global network called the Sustainable Journalism Partnership, which seeks to explore how journalism and sustainability can be interlinked. So as you can see from the panel, we are in good hands. We'll also want to hear from you in the audience. Please send written questions and messages via Over, and we'll get our panelists to respond to as many of them as we can. You can send the questions in English and French. They will be translated. You can start asking those questions right away. So Francis, if I may start with you, could you please share with us your presentation on doing investigative reporting from your country, and then we'll follow up with questions. Over to you, please, Francis. Sorry, you're muted. You're muted. Sorry, Francis.
Sorry about that. Okay.
Yes.
Good day, everyone, and fellow speakers and participants. I will not be able to share my screen from here, but I don't know if you could share from your side, because right now I am on my phone and having some technical challenges with my PC. So, do you have the slide?
Our technical team should be able to work on that. Yes, but in the meantime, please go ahead as they work out how to share your presentation. Please go ahead.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. So, in this year, I work on a project. It's called Cameroon Large-Scale Logging Forces Indigenous Baka out of the forest. It was an investigation that was supported by the Rainforest Journalism Fund in partnership with the Police Center. I had to go on the field and investigate logging by Palisco. It's a French-owned logging company in the eastern part of Cameroon, that is based in Ngounou, precisely. So I was there, and I was trying to look at the level of logging in the forest and how it has displaced the Baka, indigenous Baka people of Bijumam. Before they were in the forest, but when Palisco arrived, the Baka people had to leave the forest, and they had to relocate to the roadside, which was very dusty, which was muddy, not good for their living. So they had to adjust to which in itself comes with a lot of challenges. So I was able to work with some open source tools like the Global Forest Watch, the Open Timber Portal, and the Central African Forest Observatory. On the Global Forest Watch, I tried to look at the primary forest loss around the Mindoro side. Palisco owns 3 FMUs.
Hi, Francis. Francis, sorry, I do apologize to interrupt. Your audio is very low. Can you maybe up your audio a little bit for us?
Is it okay now?
Yeah, that's
Is
better.
it good?
That's better, thank you.
That's a lot better.
Okay, all right. Okay, so Palisco, they own 3 forest units in the Mindoro district of Cameroon. So I went to the Global Forest Watch. I went to the map, and I then look out for these FMUs, and I understood the level of deforestation that was done at those 3 units. And then I also look at how this also led to biodiversity loss. Some primates which were very much around at that side, had to relocate, had to go deep into the forest. And then also I use a map to monitor the forest and also to see how it changes, by deforestation, by fires, and on other perhaps natural occurrences. So the Global Forest Watch was really a very helpful tool for me, because it helped me to understand the level of deforestation. It helped me to understand the loss of primary forest and the kind of species of trees that would have been logged since Palisco arrived at Mindoro. So, and then I also used the Open Timber Portal. I find it very helpful, because the Open Timber Portal provides a lot of information, a lot of data, and for journalists and investigators to use. Especially, I investigated the loggers' legal background. I mined a lot of
documents on the open timber portal, because they provide every legal document, every information about any logger around the Central Africa Republic, no, around the Congo Basin region. So I be able to understand the background, the legal background of the company, to know whether Palisco had the legal backing to, to cut down trees in the forest and also or not. So I understand that they were given the rights to fell trees. But at a point, Palisco were stepped out of their boundary. They were involved in some illegal logging, around some places where there are very economic trees, like the bush mangoes and others. So, and these trees are actually very important to the Baka people because they provide for them medicine, indigenous medicine. They provide for them food because the Baka people are not actually farmers, so they are just fruit gatherers. They go into the forest and they gather fruits and other leaves, to use and to eat. So, but these are the kind of trees that Palisco is actually interested on because they're very expensive, in the European, Asian market and other markets in Africa. So the Open Timber Portal gave me that information, and I understood also the impact on the economy, the people, biodiversity, and poaching. So I talked with quite a number of the Baka people, and they told me that the opening of the forest due to logging, invited poachers from other, neighboring communities. So the logging route provides easy access to these forests, these FMUs. So it was actually a problem. So this particular open source tool, it was very, very instrumental in my investigation, and it allowed me to really actually look at the legal backing of Palisco and if they have stepped out of their boundary, and what was the reaction of the Cameroon Ministry of Forestry and Wildlife, and how, what has been maybe the implication. So I also understood that Palisco, in the agreement with the Cameroonian government, they said that they will be replanting like 5,000 trees like annually. But I understood that that was not actually what they were doing. They were not actually very practical about that. Yeah, so they don't actually plant up to that number of trees. So it's another also very serious problem. So and again, I tried to reach out to the director in charge of the Palisco company at Minduru, and he didn't reply me. Even though I had a tracker, I had an email tracker, that if I send an email, you open the email, I'll be able to see that the email has opened. So he opened the email many times, he didn't reply me. Yeah, so I understood that there was something actually, there's something actually wrong. And then another tool that I used was the Central African Forest Observatory. This was actually helped me to check, logging laws in Cameroon. What are the requirements for a logging company or a lumberjack for them to be given a right, to own an FMU in the rainforest region of rainforest part of Cameroon. So then this tool also helped me to compare data sourced from the Open Timber Portal. And also I wanted to understand the forestry laws and the statistics of the Congo Basin region in comparison with other countries like Congo, DRC, Rwanda, and Gabon, and other countries. And I understand that Cameroon is really, because of corruption, and because of the justice system is compromised. There have been a lot of illegal loggers. Even some of the logging companies that have the legal rights to log, to cut down trees in the forest, they're also engage in illegal logging, so, and then this is actually also in connection with some of the forest guards, who are supposed to be there, who are supposed to help out. Also, what helped me in my investigation was that I was able to work with someone from the Cameroon Ministry of Forestry and Wildlife, and he gave me some really very vital information that really helped me in pushing forward into my investigation. So yeah, he was very, very instrumental in that, and yeah, and then the backup people also. They were actually they were displaced, and there was not much help from the Palisco, and so that was actually the problem they faced. And then when the story was published, and I think it was out in like a couple of like 5, 7 or 8 outlets. So I understand that Palisco had to go back to the community and ask those people who actually gave out some of the information. Yeah, so they didn't like it, and yeah, but so that was actually how I investigated the activity of Palisco in Mindoro. Yeah. So that's all for now.
Yeah, thank you, Francis, for that presentation. Now, I picked out something that you kept talking about. You use particular tools to do your investigations. You have the Global Forest Watch tool, you have the Open Timber Portal, and then the Central African Forest Observatory. Now, if somebody hasn't interacted with these tools before, could you tell us, one, are they free tools? Are you able to access them? Is anybody able to access them? 2, did you have to go through particular training or particular expertise to get to know how to use these tools?
Yeah, these tools are free. Yeah, they're free, and yes, I was trained by Code for Africa. That was in early 2019. In early 2019 to 2020, I did a project with them. It was in a collaboration, the Code for Africa and the Global Forest Watch. So yeah, I was trained to know how to use these tools. Yeah, and some of these tools, like the Open Timber Portal, could actually be easy to use, except for the Global Forest Watch, which requires some technical, know-how to be able to manipulate some of the features and some of the data therein.
Okay. Now, is there, can you self-tutor, for instance, for the Global Forest Watch tool, the observatory, how to use them? Are there, have you had to sort of self-tutor in order to improve on your use of these tools?
Yes, sorry, I didn't get you.
Yeah, have you had to teach yourself? Are you able to get some tutorials, for instance, on YouTube? Because we're trying to help others who have never encountered these kinds of tools.
Yes. For the Global Forest Watch, I think they have a couple of videos on their YouTube channel that are very helpful. Yeah, very helpful. But again, even when you watch those videos, you still have to like put in a lot of effort, in exploiting these features yourself. So yeah, there are videos on YouTube, some of these channels, like especially the Global Forest Watch. Yeah, but I have not actually, but I don't know actually for the Open Timber Portal and the Central Africa Observatory. Yeah.
Yes. And then the other thing you have mentioned is the issue of collaborations. Right now, the environmental investigative journalism community in Africa is small. It's growing, but it's still fairly small. What tips would you offer to journalists venturing into sort of, and what can you share with young people trying to follow in your footsteps if they are to do collaborative reporting?
Yeah, collaboration. I would like to say that collaboration is key. It's paramount in for you to to have access to some, let's say, some maybe not classified, but some information that are protected by some clique of people within an organization. So you need to have people that could actually like how do I put it, like the doorman, someone that will open the door for you to get in and collect this information. Yeah, so collaboration is key. And when you're collaborating, when you want to collaborate with someone, you need to make sure that you assure him or her that that their identity will not be disclosed, and whatever information you get. So it gives that person the confidence to help you. But so if you don't give that person that assurance, then it will be very difficult for that person to believe, to release any information for you. So you need to tell them that first that this information they're about to give me, I promise not to, or you sign a contract, non-disclosure. So you're not going to disclose the identity of the person, and then you can work with the person to any extent you want.
Okay, then your media organization is a niche outlet, and yourself as a journalist, you're focused mostly on environmental and climate change stories. For those, if you're speaking to sort of people who are trying to get into doing these kinds of stories, what tips would you share with, say, young journalists who are trying to get into environmental reporting, sort of walking through the paths you have walked in terms of growing your expertise in the craft?
Yes, environmental reporting is interesting, and it's very I'll say it's very rich in there are tools that actually will help you to scale through. Yeah, so my advice is that as a journalist, you have to first learn these tools. I mean, you have to be conversant with these tools. And then you need to be able to know how to exploit these tools to a greater extent, because they will help you a lot in mining data and other information. And then secondly, you need to have someone to work with, like an editor, someone who believes in you, in your pitch, your expertise, in your outcome, in your deliverables. Yeah, you need to work with an editor, and then you need also to be patient when you're investigating. Yeah, you need to be patient with yourself, patient with the environment that you find yourself in, and then you also have to, before you go to the field, you need to have a lot of information about where you're going to, the kind of people that they are, what are their, what is the economic, social, or the political factors or elements around those places, and what you need actually, so that you need to know what to deal with. For example, like in Cameroon, in the eastern part of Cameroon, like there are issues you do not dare not talk about, like the issue of the separatists, in the southern Cameroon. So you do that. So you know that anywhere you are, maybe you go to a restaurant and you find people talking about that, you just do not say anything. Just do your thing and get out. So it's very important you understand what really leads to conflict, because to minimize any how do I put it, any impending attack on you, or any security risk, so to speak. Yeah, so it's very important also as a journalist to know that. And then also I also try to make sure that I protect my let me say, where I go to, like for example, if I lodge a hotel at point A, I'm going to, maybe I went to the Ministry of Forestry to get information, I have to take another way, or maybe I live in this place for maybe 3 days, I move to the next place, just to, reduce, because you might never know who is tracking you, and so you really need to be very prudent, to protect yourself too.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I'll get back to you, Francis, but let me cross over to Lars for the moment. But before I do that, I will encourage those in the audience to please ask any questions that you have at this point or any other point during the conversation. Now, Lars, welcome to the discussion. Could we start? I think you have a presentation that you wanted to share before I can ask any questions. Please go ahead and present your insights, and then I'll get back to you with some questions.
Thank you, Benon, and thank you, Francis, for the excellent work you do. I'm from Fojo, and our job is to support journalists like Francis and all of you that participate in this conference. I used to be a journalist, but now you see my hair is getting gray. So, now I have the pleasure to work to support good journalists. So that is what we do at Fojo. And I'm happy I have the opportunity here to tell about a collaboration between Swedish and African journalists and researchers. The outset, I mean, if we look at the general picture of the situation of journalism today, it's kind of a gloomy picture. We can say that trust in journalism is at historical low level. We can also say that revenues for media is at historical low level. And if we look at society at large, we see that we are facing serious sustainability crisis. And I think, Francis, that the story you have told here is a very good example of this. This group of researchers and journalists, this was kind of the outset. So we took the big picture, and we have coined a concept that we call sustainable journalism. And you can say that this is an attempt to kind of confront these two challenges: the sustainability crisis facing society and the sustainability crisis facing journalism. And the sustainability crisis facing society, well, we can see this from Francis' story here, related to climate change, related to the environmental degradation, poverty, inequality, crumbling democracies. So this is the challenge for the society. Now, if we look at journalism, we are facing challenges stems from erosion of revenue streams with the fierce competition from the global social media companies, media captures, powerful people buying independent media, disinformation. We have seen a lot of good examples of disinformation and the way that good journalists tackle disinformation. And of course, authoritarian governments, draconian media laws, and a deteriorating public trust in media that stems that kind of a result for this. So we believe that these two crises are interconnected, and we believe that a sustainable society demands journalism, like the kind of journalism that you do, Francis, that explicitly addresses the sustainability challenges faced by society. And on the other hand, we believe that journalism must in turn have the ability to meet this demand, to stay relevant, and also to become economically viable. So this has been the outset. We have made a policy brief on this that we call Towards Sustainable Journalism in Sub-Saharan Africa. But it's very much a work in progress. And as Benon said, we are about to set up an informal network. Collaboration is the key word here in everything we do, And if anyone is interested in joining us in developing the concept of sustainable journalism, I would be more than happy. We will also discuss this at a local session in Addis, where I am right now, 2:45 South African time. Thank you.
Okay, Lars, you have talked about collaborations, those between the journalists in Sweden and Africa. I remember very closely the one between journalists in Namibia and Iceland, the fish rot investigation, which led to the arrest of a minister in Namibia. Now, could you share with us how your organization would be able to support those kinds of collaborations and even and take the kind of joint work that is already happening even further?
That must depend very much on the needs of the journalists in each country, in each region. That is what decide what we do. So we don't invent projects, but we listen to our partners, and then we jointly develop different concepts depending on the context. Now, I believe that we could do much more when it comes to environmental journalism, and not least the connection between environmental, social, and economic sustainability, because I think it's also a risk if we treat the environmental issue as something separate from the rest of society. I think there is a risk that we don't integrate the issue enough in our reporting. I mean, we are not magicians, so we mainly work with partner organizations to strengthen partner organization. That could be schools of journalism, it could be media outlets, it could be media councils, or any kind of organization that want to advance good journalism. Of course, also mentoring, grants, those different traditional methods. Training, but we try to avoid ad hoc training. But if we do training, we want to do it on a long-term basis, so we really see that there is a development. I think this is somewhat, we see a lot of short-term training, 1 week training in investigative journalism. You don't become an investigative journalist in 1 week. We all know that. So long-term processes, and also sustainability in that thinking, and also connecting this thinking with media viability. Because if we don't have profitable media companies, we will not have good journalism. And if we don't have profitable media companies, they will not be able to pay decent salaries to journalists. So it's all connected. So this is kind of the outset we have when we plan our support.
Okay, thank you, Lars. Let me bring in Boris, who will speak to another aspect of environmental investigative reporting. Boris, are you with us? Hello, Boris. I think you're muted. Please unmute, and then we can continue the conversation.
Hello, everyone. Hello. I hope you can hear me now.
Boris?
My name is Boris Ngounou. I'm living. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Okay, before we get to Boris.
You can still hear me?
Could I just ask Francis again to join the conversation? If you could unmute, then I can ask you. Okay, thank you. So, Francis, I have worked myself with a number of environmental investigative journalists, and one of the major challenges is access to information and data, especially from governments, which are really charged with the role of sometimes tracking what's happening in these sectors. How do you go around this challenge of access to public information in your country? What experience do you have to share with us?
Yeah, thank you. It's a very interesting issue. Recently, I did a project again with the Pulitzer Center about how women cope with climate change and credit crunch. So in Ibadan, so somewhere in Ishain in Ibadan. After you know, investigating the story, after investigating the issue has to do with you know, women farmers accessing, you know, credit facilities, you know, to continue cultivating crops. I went to the Oyo State Ministry of Agriculture, and nobody wants to listen to me. You know, like, you know, when they hear that this is what I am actually investigating on. You know, so for first, when you go to a government agency, their first reaction will tell you will tell you what actually could be the problem. You know, like if they're not willing to talk to you, then you know that there's something wrong. There could be actually, on the radar, there could be something wrong. So anyway, I had to, I insisted, even though when I went to the office of the director himself, he said he declined. So I went out, and then I met someone outside, and then I talked to the person, and the person actually developed a little interest in it. And so he then, I then told him, you know, that you know, I was actually trying to investigate the corruption around, you know, credit facilities. You know, how the government agency, how they select people that, you know, to give them money to continue farming. So, but I told him that I was actually looking for information that has to do with how the government, you know, support women farmers. You know, especially has to do with climate change and training. You know, I didn't tell him that it was actually I was actually digging deeper into that. So then he had an interest, and he walked me into an office of another high profile personnel. So then from there we started conversation. So from the conversation, I had to dig deeper because because after talking to me, I knew that he couldn't, even if he declines, you know, I would then get some tips. So that worked for me, and then I got what I wanted. And then the person did not actually, he refused to tell me his name. You know, you can imagine that. So what I did was that I went outside, and then I met the security lady, and then I told her that, yes, I just met with the so person that particular office. He said, okay, yeah, that's that, you know, she mentioned his name. So then I went back to my hotel, and then I had to confirm his name. I then now edited his voice. Then I sent it to not the Oyo State government. So and then the people in charge, you know, on that particular website, they told me that they'll get back to me. So I sent them a copy of the voice. So they went, and then they confirmed that, yeah, this was actually the person. So yeah, it could actually be very difficult, but then you still have to be patient as a journalist, because you know, Africa, we are facing a lot of challenges that has to you know, in honesty, in, you know, corruption is actually really eating deep into the system. So, you find it difficult, to get access to what you need. So, but then you need to be now, right at that time, you need to be very creative, in getting around those people and outsmarting them, to get what you need. Because if you don't create, if you don't create ways to get information, then you wouldn't get it. That is just the truth. And then you find out that the story will just be like an ordinary report, So yeah, it's very challenging dealing with government officials. Yeah, really very challenging. But then it has to do with one, be able to manipulate them, if you find out that they are not, they will not collaborate with you, then you need to, don't tell them that actually this is actually you're investigating corruption, or you're investigating maybe the mismanagement of funds. You can actually tell them you're investigating maybe let me say, maybe the importance of the project in the community. So when you begin to talk to the person, then you begin to go deeper, and then maybe unconsciously the person will begin to tell you something. So from there you work with it. Yeah. So that is how I usually get around them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Francis. I'm told that we have Boris back online. Boris, can you hear me? Hello, Boris.
Yes, I can
Boris,
hear you.
Can you? Great,
Yes,
great
I
to
can
have
hear
you
you loud and clear.
in the discussion. Great, good to have you. Now you have, I'm sure, followed a bit of the discussion, and but the particular question that I wanted to start with you, you do environmental investigations for radio, which is no easy feat, and many journalists are venturing, if not into radio, but at least into doing investigative podcasts, which is really similar to what you do. Could you share with us your experience navigating through radio to share content on environmental stories with the public, and what tips you can share with journalists who are venturing into audio environmental investigations? Boris?
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, we can hear you. Boris, the floor is yours.
Firstly, when I work, I usually contact my colleagues and some other people that work in the field of and the environment. Is it better? Because my sound is cutting. I've been told that my sound is cutting. Is it better now?
We can hear you. It's much better now. We can hear you loud and clear.
It's better. It should be better.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, it is.
All right. What I was saying before is that in order to reach the most or as many people as I can in my work, and in order to reach people and raise awareness, as well as influence decisions towards forest protection and preservation, like I did last March, usually I try to broadcast as wide a net as possible. I try to diversify the formats. So sometimes an audio version, sometimes a TV version, and a written version, an online version. So when I do this, I can choose two types of media in order to reach my objective and the publics. So when it comes to radio, a broadcast around Yaoundé, I broadcast around the coast, because there is a radio station that is based there, and it reaches the populations that are really concerned by the project on which I'm working. And on top of that, I'm working with TV and online. There are certain online publications that accept audiovisual formats, because some people are not too keen to read long articles on the subjects. We have local TV channels that accept and that are kind enough to broadcast environmental work. It happens a lot more than before, because contrary to popular belief, in Yaoundé we can see a growing interest around environmental topics. So when you do a really good job on logging, deforestation, a lot of local channels, local TV stations want to broadcast it. Or you can have online publications and newspaper coming to you. So what I would say, my tip would be to diversify the channel of broadcasting. And the work that I do is to diversify the channels that I use in order to reach as many people as I can. We good?
Yes, we are. Please go ahead.
I can also mention, I would like to share with you the challenges that we are meeting daily when it comes to investigative journalism in the environmental sector, mainly deforestation in the Congo Basin. You know, those challenges may be the same in the 6 countries that are in the Congo Basin. So Cameroon, RCA, Republic of Congo, DRC, Gabon, and Equatorial Guinea. So when it comes to concerning Cameroon, I will just mention a report that I have done last March in the Campo district. It's 70 kilometers away from Kribi. It's on the coast, and Kribi is the largest city in that area. And the first challenge is the physical access to information. So if you want to talk about forest, if you want to talk about wildlife, you have to go there. And oftentimes, roads are not up to par. When it comes, if I have to mention Campo, last March, it was very difficult to get there. So physically, access is difficult. Roads, there's no concrete roads. And even if there is concrete, it's really badly damaged. And you can only reach there with a motorcycle. So you have to spend hours on end on a bike. You might fall. Sometimes you might just get stuck in the mud, and you have to dust yourself up and continue. It's already difficult to work in this type of conditions. If I have to mention other challenges, authorities, local authorities
very
are
briefly,
not that cooperative. If I may say, they are sometimes hostile.
Okay, thank you,
So
thank you,
when
Boris.
it comes to information, they are not willing to share.
Yes, thank you, Boris. You have shared something that Francis has also shared in terms of the challenges of access to information. And you have shared a number of challenges. So I would like to bring in Lars back into the conversation. If I could ask you, Lars, you've listened to the challenges, and you've written somewhere that the concept of sustainable journalism has the potential to serve both as a point of departure, but also as a platform for exploring new possibilities. As we wind up the conversation, what are these possibilities that environmental investigative journalists around Africa should be looking at, should be looking at exploring going forward?
Well, if I start with a possibility, I mean, the first condition must always be that there is an interest in our readers, viewers, and listeners. And I think what Boris said now, there is a growing interest for environmental journalism. Because if we look at this from a commercial perspective, from the media owner's perspective, the media owner is interested in publishing news. If it's a good media owner, he or she is interested in publishing news that people are interested in taking part of. And this has been the main problem, not only in Africa, also in Sweden. We have had exactly the same problem. But we see that there's a shift going on now, and it's happening very fast. So I'm very happy to hear what Boris said now, that he also experiences this shift. Also think that Francis said something similar. We did a survey in Asia, in 6 countries in Asia, where we asked journalists and other media stakeholders the most important topics to cover. 89% answered environment, climate change. So there's huge shift in people's mindset and interest. So I think that opens up for different possibilities. And so what are the possibilities? Well, we don't have much time left, so I give you the easy answer. Collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. I think this is really what I take with me from this conference. We see so many good examples, not only the Pandora Papers, but so many good examples of different kind of collaborations. So I think this is the track that we need to continue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lars. Now we have a question from Fatumata Cham, and I'll ask it to both Boris and Francis. She says, investigative journalism is quite critical if we are serious about addressing certain ills and holding those in power accountable. However, just how impactful is the work we do as journalists? Please share your experiences. Francis and Boris, this is your chance to motivate all of us by sharing the impact that your investigations have had. We will go and start with Boris and then wind up with Francis. So over to you, Boris.
I didn't really hear the question. Could you repeat, please?
The question is, investigative journalism is quite critical if we are serious about addressing certain ills and holding those in power accountable. However, how impactful is the work we do as journalists? Please share your experiences to show the impact that your work has had in your respective countries, or in your country in this case.
Thank you. Thank you for repeating the question. I think I understand. So you would like to know how we should proceed to have an impact, to have an influence, and to influence decision making towards protecting forests. So what we are doing basically is to share the work, to present it in a strategic way in order to reach the people who have the ability to decide. So maybe government or other institutions. We are trying to make sure that our news are read by a minister or a government department, because we want to ignite, trigger decisions. It could be NGOs. I remember one of the reports, one of the news report in Cabo Verde that I did pushed an NGO to launch a campaign against the CAMVET project. And it came after the news report I made. And they launched this campaign in order to protest against the environmental hazards that the forest of Kamto was facing, and what were the ecological consequences: pollution of the streams, the use of chemicals, the disappearance of some sites on the coast. So this is what we are doing. This is the way to go. We just need to involve population in the work we do. We have to involve them. We have to take them along so that they understand the dangers, the risks that you are describing and that you are presenting in your work. And slowly but surely, you will see that you will reach decision makers, authorities, people that are not necessarily at the core of the topic, but peripheral. And then you can see a sort of pressure building up, a little bit of lobbying. There is a traction, a momentum that is being created, and solutions are being created and found as we go along. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Boris. Francis, I will ask you to respond to the same question.
Impact is every investigation, because I mean, impact also is part of is part of the whole investigative journalism, you know, outcome. So the story I did.
Could you just summarize in about in a few seconds what your view is? Because we're running out of time, unfortunately.
Okay, the story I did two months ago about this issue of the manipulation of credit facilities for farmers. Just 2 weeks ago, I reached out to some of my
Francis, we seem to be losing you, but we have run out of time, so I will try to wrap up at this point. Unfortunately, we could not have Sonja Smith join us, but thank you, Francis. Thank you, Boris, and thank you, Lars. We are going into the next session, so please join us for those next sessions. From me for now, it's goodbye and see you all again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.